chapter 8, verse 20. It says, then the Lord, again, that's the name Yahweh. Then Yahweh said to Moses, rise up early in the morning and present yourself to Pharaoh as he goes out to the water, and say to him, thus says Yahweh, let my people go that they may serve me. Or else if you will not let my people go, behold, I will send swarms of flies on you and on your servants and on your people and into your houses. And the houses of the Egyptians shall be filled with swarms of flies, and also the ground on which they stand. But on that day I will set apart the land of Goshen, where my people dwell, so that no swarms of flies shall be there, that you may know that I am the Lord in the midst of the earth. Thus I will put a division between my people and your people. Tomorrow this sign shall happen. And the Lord did so. There came great swarms of flies into the house of Pharaoh and into his servants' houses throughout all the land of Egypt. The land was ruined by the swarms of flies. I don't know if you caught it back in verse 22, but he says, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this distinction between Goshen and the land of Egypt. He says, so that you may know that I, Yahweh, am in the midst of my people. Why? I want you to know Yahweh, not Elohim, this generic God, but Yahweh. I want you to know who I am. Listen, I think this next plague is another one that you so easily miss. Your whole life, if you've read the story before, you think about a swarm of flies and you think little house flies. It's a lot like the gnats. You get annoyed by them. You might get a fly swatter and try to kill them. They bother you. They gross you out, but they don't hurt you. That's not what he's talking about. Most scholars believe that this is not referring to house flies because of verse 24, when it says that the land was ruined by them. That Hebrew word for ruined means annihilated, utterly decimated by them. If it were just common house flies, the land would not have been decimated by them on the land. Most believe this is referring to a different type of flying thing. In fact, the actual Hebrew term doesn't say swarms of flies. It just says swarms. It leaves it open. Flying creatures that swarm. There are many historians who believe that the flying creature was actually a scarab. It's a beetle. Very common in Egyptian lore. If you look back at a lot of Egyptian imagery, you'll see beetles all over the place, in their jewelry, on their walls. And the reason why is they thought these scarabs brought good luck. They actually saw them as signs of the resurrection. In fact, there was the chief of the scarabs, the beetles. His name was Khepri, and he was the god of resurrection. In fact, we have an image of him. I want to put that up there. So this is Khepri, and you can see him. He's got the body of a man, but the face of a scarab, a beetle. And the reason that he was there is, as the god of resurrection, was because he was the one who was thought to take what was dead and use it for good to bring about life. And here's the reason why. Because of what beetles did. Now, I'm going to gross you out a little bit here, but you got to understand how beetles work. Maybe you've heard of a dung beetle. Dung beetles, they take what has been discarded, dead from a living being. They begin to roll it up until it makes a ball, and then they bury that ball. They plant their eggs right next to it, and these eggs begin to feed on that little ball of what was dead, and they come to life. And so when the Egyptians look at these beetles, they see them take what was dead and bring out life from it, and they go, resurrection. And so you have Khepri, the god of resurrection, and he's the one who's supposed to take care of all that's dead and bring it back to life. Now they've had this Nile plague with blood. They've had these frogs plaguing everything. They have gnats, which is lice or fleas or something plaguing everything. And now they're going to turn to Khepri to help them out and these beetles to help them out. And God says, oh, you think beetles are going to help you out? Let me go ahead and send a swarm of scarabs against you. And you're going to see that these things that you think will bring you life can only bring you death. Why? Because that God has no power whatsoever. That beetle has no power. I'm Yahweh. I'm the true God. In fact, he puts an exclamation point on this miracle by doing something for the first time, making a distinction. I don't know if you saw it, between the land of Goshen and the land of Egypt. You're going, what's Goshen? Goshen's the place. That's where the Hebrews lived. It was this beautiful, lush piece of land where they could shepherd their sheep. It was on the eastern side of the delta of the Nile River. Beautiful, lush area right in the heart of Egypt. And so think about what this miracle looks like, because it's a double miracle. Not only did God bring scarabs, but he actually created this barrier in the land of Goshen that's right in the middle of Egypt that every Egyptian would have been able to see. You could be walking through Egypt, and there's just these big old scarabs, these beetles everywhere, eating the land, devouring everything. And then you walk right through, and here in Goshen, there's not a single scarab to be found. The land is pristine. No mistake whatsoever. Like a wall of beetles just stops, and no one touches Goshen. And he wanted every single Egyptian to see the true power. You think Khepri will bring you resurrection? Let me go ahead and tell you, I'm the only one who can bring life. I protect my people. I plague my enemies. Know who I am. That's what this miracle is trying to say. He's trying to show Egypt, Pharaoh, and all the demonic powers that he can take them any old day in a Wild West shootout. In fact, the terminology he uses, it's so powerful, but you miss it in the English translations. This is the biggest struggle point you have sometimes by trying to switch between languages, but there's something that takes place that you don't see in English that you do in Hebrew. It was back in the beginning when it says that you're supposed to go before Pharaoh and say this, thus says Yahweh, and what the English translation says, send my people out that they may worship me, and if you don't let them go, then I will send swarms of flies against you. So the English says, let my people go, and if you don't let them go, then I will send them to you. So it looks like two different verbs, go, go, send. But actually in Hebrew, it's the same verb all three times. It's the Hebrew verb shalach, which means to send. So literally, if you're translating those verses 20 and 21 and 22, it says, God goes, he sends Moses to Pharaoh, and he says, thus says Yahweh, I want you to send my people away, Pharaoh, and if you don't send my people away, I'm going to send this plague of swarms against you. Send, send, send. And you're going, okay, thanks for the grammar lesson, Jason, but who cares? The same verb. Okay, what does that mean? Let me tell you exactly what it means. I'm going to go ahead and bring it down to today and how it would go down if you're really trying to translate the meaning of it. Basically, God is going up to Pharaoh, and he says, all right, listen up, Pharaoh. Here's what's going to happen. Someone's going to do some shalachim today. It's either going to be you or it's going to be me. So go ahead and make it easy on yourself and shalach my people out to worship me, or I'm about to shalach some beetles all up in your business. You choose. The terminology is intended to be confrontational. Someone's going to shalach, someone's going to send, and either you're going to make it easy on yourself and you're going to do what I tell you to do, or I'm going to show you who I am. It was intended to be a cosmic showdown so we would know who the true power is. But that Pharaoh, his skull is so thick. He goes, I'm not scared of you. And what does God do? God sends the swarm, the scarabs upon the land, and now here is Pharaoh in verse 24, and he's looking out over his beautiful Egypt, and it has been annihilated, ravaged